Hey all, Tom from Figma here, and I'm here hanging out in my draft space in my Figma account, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to walk you through some of the changes that are coming to drafts and hopefully answer some of the questions that you have. Now, before we get started, I want to highlight one thing. This change only impacts you if you're a member of a free starter or a professional plan. If you're on the organization or enterprise plans, drafts have already worked this way since 2019, so there are no changes to you. Now, before we look at what the changes are, I thought it would be helpful to contextualize the before experience so that we can make a quick comparison to what the new experience looks like with the exact same set of drafts and the exact same team configuration. Okay, today drafts live in a space that's outside of your teams. And drafts is great because it's a really low friction way for you to create new files, do early explorations, and this space is private to you. There may be work in here that you're not ready to share, and you want to have full control over which files you share with others, if you share them at all. And none of that is changing in the new model. What is changing is the location of drafts. Instead of living outside the team, each team that you belong to will have its own draft space, which could be your own personal team. Like in this case, I've got a free starter team called Tom's team. And you can see I've used up all of my allotted Figma and FigJam files doing work inside a project on the team. I'm also a member of a professional team. You could imagine this is a company I work for or a client that I'm doing work for. And often today, a lot of the work for both of those teams starts out in drafts, and down the road, it sometimes doesn't get moved into the appropriate team. And so we're trying to create a little bit more intentionality around where you create drafts by giving you a draft space in each team that you belong to. Now, I'm going to enable the new feature, and we'll take a look at what this looks like with the new drafts experience. Okay, so here we are with the new drafts experience enabled, and right away you'll notice that there's a couple of major changes. The first is that below our recents, there's a new space that's been added called drafts to move. And in this space, you're going to find all of the files that were previously located in your drafts. The other major change is that the file browser now shows you a concentrated view of just the contents of one team at a time. So from this dropdown, we can simply click and choose and switch between any team that we're a member of. You can also create a new team from this dropdown. I want to highlight this because when you first log in with this new experience, we're going to put you into the team that you last made an edit. So if there's some things that you're used to seeing in your sidebar that aren't there, you just have to switch into the other team that those things are affiliated with to see them. Okay, so back to drafts to move. Like I said, all of the files that were previously in your drafts folder are going to be located in this view. And from this view, you can do three different things. You can move all of the drafts at once into another team, or you can selectively move specific drafts into specific teams. You also can delete drafts if you want to do some cleanup, and if you're in a pinch and don't have time to do this now, you can still open these files from this view and continue editing them with the existing set of collaborators. If you want to invite someone new to the file, you will need to move that file into a team. Now, while there is no time limit for you to move files out of this space, we do encourage you to do this as soon as you have a moment. Now, let's go into the move experience. From here, you have the ability to move these files into a specific team. And in my case, I want to move this file here into my professional team space, which is Acme Co. So if I select this checkbox and go to move file, you'll see that I have the ability to choose one of the teams that I'm a member of to move that draft into. Once I click move, this list reloads, and that file has now been located into the draft space of this particular team. And as a reminder, this draft space, even though it lives inside a team, is still private to you. Nobody else on your team will see your drafts, and you won't see theirs. You're in full control of which files you want to share and who you want to share them with. Okay, and lastly, I want to move the remaining drafts that are personal to me into my personal team. And rather than selecting them one by one, I can click on the Move All Drafts option, which will allow me to remove all of the drafts in this space to a particular team. In this case, I'm going to choose Tom's team, which is my starter team that I showed you earlier. This is the same starter team that was already at the limits in terms of the number of files that I could organize into projects. That team now has its own draft space that all of these files is going to get moved into. If you don't have a starter team, you can create one through this flow, and you can simply choose a free starter team and move the files into that team. With this team selected, I'm now going to go ahead and move the rest of those files into that team. If you have a lot of drafts, it may take Figma a moment to move them all into the team. Okay, it's all done. Now let's switch over to my personal team to see the draft space inside a starter team. The file browser will reload, So here we are inside the team, and all of the files that we just moved are inside a draft space inside our starter team. Within this space, we can still create new files just like we did before. The limitations that we were looking at apply to files that you want to collaborate with on other editors that you've organized into projects. I hope that clarifies some of the aspects about this change. And as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask, and we'll do our best to get you some answers. Anyways, thanks so much for watching.